All right, welcome back to the part 2 of the actual tutorial flight as part of our advanced tutorial series of the TFDi Md-11 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are just getting ready to take off here out of Ontario, but before we do, I'd just like to say I'm your host, Mustafa. You can find me streaming over on Twitch about 3 days a week, streaming mostly Microsoft Flight Simulator, but occasionally some other things as well. Love to see you come over there and hang out with us. If you have any questions or comments about this video or the other series, please feel free to use that comment section down below. I do try to read all the comments and answer as much of that as I can. But if you want to join the real conversation and get quicker answers and from more experts, not just me, the best way is to join the Discord, which there is a link down in the description below for you to do that. We'd love to see you over on the Discord channel at the Moose Lodge. And finally, if you are finding this helpful, please leave a like and a subscribe. It does help the channel grow. Okay, all that said, let's get right down to it. So in the previous one, we pre-flighted, we started her up, we loaded her up, we taxied her to the runway, and we're now holding short of 26 right here at Ontario, California. We're not on VATSIM, so we can do whatever we want. We can take our time, and we're going to talk through the takeoff procedure in this aircraft because it's a little different than what you might be used to. You might remember that we talked about the fact in previous video, I think on Cockpit Familiarization, that we don't have a traditional toga button in this aircraft. It's just a go-around button, and that is located right here. We're not going to push that for takeoff. That is for go-around only. What we do is, if we look at our PFD here, you're going to notice the FMA, which is the Flight Mode Annunciator, and we have our traditional indications for speed and the speed mode, which currently is set to pitch. The current heading mode, which is takeoff, which means it's basically going to be like heading hold straight out. And then over here is the altitude, the vertical hold mode, which right now is set to takeoff clamp and shows 23,000 because that's what is bugged over here. And it's showing in the pink the V2 speed of 167. All right, you notice it also says AP off, autopilot off is this section controlled by the autopilot, and the auto throttle system is off, this area controlled by the auto throttle system. So, what we're going to do in order to initiate the takeoff procedure is we're going to hit auto flight once, right there. And you notice it takes away this. What we basically just did is we armed the auto throttle system, the ATS. So that is live now, and it's in takeoff clamp. What's going to happen is we're going to spool the engines up, and when they reach about 70% N1, the auto throttle system is going to take over and set your takeoff power for you automatically because it knows it's in takeoff mode. So you just have to get the throttles up to 70%. Once they're there, you'll see them continue up the rest of the way to the pink bug, which is our 101.2 takeoff flex set. And that's where it's going to leave them and go back into a clamp mode, which means you can then pull the throttles out of that and kill the power in case you need to reject. The rest of the system is still off, but the modes are armed for takeoff and pitch. Once we pass 400 feet AGL, above ground level, we can arm the nav mode. This will change from takeoff to nav, and the flight director, instead of commanding just a straight out from the runway, will then follow our nav indications here. We still have to fly the airplane ourselves, but it will show us the correct thing there. And the and the aircraft will continue to climb in a pitch mode for takeoff. At that point, we can also reach over, and I would usually do this at about 1,000 feet. We can reach over and hit the profile button, which will arm the climb mode, and it will start using the FMS speeds and things like that to climb the airplane appropriately for the departure. Again, the autopilot is off at this point. The only thing that's engaged is the auto throttle. At any point in that process, after those things are armed, you can hit auto flight again, and now it will engage the autopilot portion. So unlike a lot of aircraft that have separate switches for the autopilot and the auto throttle, it's one button auto flight because they're all very tied together. Now, you can disconnect them individually. This disconnects the autopilot only, this disconnects the auto throttle only, and you'll see the appropriate white box around the appropriate things. Okay? the full flight computer, the FMS and stuff like that, is going to be shown commanding through these pink indications. White indications, you can think of those as more like manual. So takeoff is a very manual thing. It's just a kind of a dead set, pitch dead set, holding 167. When we arm nav mode, this will turn pink and say nav. And same thing with the speed modes and things like that. So that's how you'll know whether or not you're in more of a manual control mode or if you're in an FMS control mode. And then obviously the white bars around indicate whether or not the autopilot is off or the auto throttle is off. Okay? Now you can also reach up here and kill the system, the autoflight system, with these guys. That's not the recommended method. That's more of like a desperation move, but that'll work too. Okay, so I think that is everything we need to cover. Again, just double checking, our spoilers are armed, our flaps are set, our throttles are all ready to go, all our engines running. We're in takeoff mode on the auto brake, and we've got the green box once the brakes come off because we had that earlier, so we already know that's the case. Again, we're going to take off straight out, passing 1460. We turn direct to Dinky, or Dink rather, and then on to Pomona. We've got to be below 8,000 at Pomona. And then from there on, it's above 12 and above 17, sorry, 12, 14, and 17 at Xbox. And we're going to want to maintain that 250 even above 10,000 until we pass Broque. And so in order to do that, what we're going to do is, since we have 250 on the speed select here, once this changes and commands 250 and we're running in that mode, sometime before 10,000 feet, I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to pull this out toward me. And that's going to force the speed mode back into a speed hold of 250 rather than whatever the FMS wants to do. And then when they clear us to do the restriction, or to kill the restriction, we can press FMS speed and resume what the computer wants to do. So hopefully that all makes sense. It's a lot. I wanted to say that now because there's not going to be a lot of time to talk while we're doing the actual departure. It's going to be busy. So here we go. We're going to say, we're going to pretend we're calling for ATC. So Ontario Tower, UPS 683 Heavy, short of runway 26 right at Whiskey, we're ready to go. And they can come back and say UPS 683 Heavy, runway 26 right, cleared for takeoff, winds 240 at 10 knots. And that's all they need to say. And so we'll go all of our lights on. We'll turn our runway turn-off lights on and our logo lights on, but our high intensities would go on too, but they're already on because we had to cross the runway a moment ago. So they're already set. Everything's ready to go. Parking brakes off. Green box is there. Here we go. And we're playing chicken with a catering truck again, I see. Because, you know, that's how we roll. And again, we're going to want to overshoot the center line a little bit as we come out here, just to make sure. It's two catering trucks. What are you doing, the conga here? What is this? Dun 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 dun. All right, there we go. All right, so we've already engaged the auto flight button. So all we have to do is spool up the engines. We're gonna warm them up a little bit, get them to stabilize, and then we'll push them up to 70%, and then the auto thrust will take over. So that looks fairly stable right there on 40%. There they go, rolling up into their detents, and that is successful. It now says takeoff thrust on the FMA, and we can transfer over to here, 80 knots. Controlling our steering with the rudder pedals now. There's V1, hands off the throttles, and rotate. Fly that flight director. Alright, there is 400 feet, so we're going to go nav. So you see how that changed to nav. And at 1,000 feet, we'll hit profile. There's 1,000 feet, profile. Also, I should probably raise the gear. That would help. So now you see everything across here is pink, so it's all being controlled by the FMS. And we are above the flap retract bug there, so we're going to go ahead and bring the flap switch up so it's just slats. And that's going to change the mode now. So we pitch down, and it's now calling for 250 knots. So there's that 250 that we were talking about. I'm going to try and push the aircraft a little bit here. It's being a little funny. I think I needed to run my my yoke through its paces. It's being a little sticky. Slat retract, we'll go there. And I'm also going to go down and pull this toward me now. So now you see 250 is white, it's mine, it's manual. And if we fly that flight director, it should keep the climb power on, but allow us to maintain 250 knots. So that way, even though we passed 10,000 now, it's not going to automatically command... Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. What's happening here? Oh, we're reaching Pomona, that's right. It's like, what the heck? I'm going to go ahead and engage the autopilot now. It's going to hold us at 250 on course, and remember, we're going to assume that we got to keep that 250 even though we passed 10,000 till broke you. So you'll see, because we're in white there, it shouldn't take over and accelerate. So we passed 10, we're holding at 250. So we're maintaining what we got to do. Now we're going to come through here, we're going to clean the aircraft up a little bit. Set that back to off. Landing lights and taxi lights can come off for passing 10,000. Runway and turnoffs can go off. And we can run the after takeoff checklist, which is normally a silent checklist, but I'm going to read it out loud so you guys can hear what we're doing. So flaps and slats are up and retracted. The gear is up, the lights out. The auto brakes are off. Just did that. The spoilers are disarmed. Flap takeoff selector to 15. So we got to move this down to 15 for the arrival. The EAD is checked. There's nothing on the annunciator that we don't expect. Hydraulic system is checked and is still in auto. The air system is still checked in auto, and the fuel system is checked and in auto. And that's all good. And at 10,000 feet, landing lights go off. The no smoking sign gets cycled to let the crew know back there, which in this case, it might just be someone riding with us. And then the forward aux left and right trans pumps is required, but we don't have anything in the trans pumps today, so we're going to go with that. 18,000 feet will be altimeters, logo, and turn-off lights, and seatbelt. Oh, so actually the turn-off lights stay on. This is Bro Q we're coming up to right now. Do a little bit of external shot. Check out this beast. just getting close to 18,000. Okay, we passed broke queue, so we're going to say they came on and said UPS 683, have you go ahead and delete the speed restriction. So we're going to say delete speed restriction, FMS, boom. Nose lowers, and we start to accelerate. That's all we got to do. And there's 18,000 feet, so we're going to go a logo light goes off and the turn-off lights go off, and then we need to set transition. So we can do that by just pushing this. That'll set standard and standard. And on the standby, we actually have to change it. Oops. There we go. So 2992 set all sides. And that's the en route climb checklist complete. The other thing we can do is the seatbelt sign. It's smooth up here right now, so seatbelt signs can go off. You are now free to move about the cabin. And at this point, we would have been switched over to LA Center, and they would have probably cleared us up to our cruise altitude of 37,000 feet. So we'll go ahead and do that. So 37,000 there. Again, all pink means where the FMC is doing the whole thing. The computer's in control. White, I'm in control. Pink, computer's in control. Think magenta line here is the computer point, so that's why that works out. So I guess it's more magenta. Magenta, computer control. It's a beautiful departure of Ontario. I really like it. Ontario is a fun airport to fly out of. And we are just turning... Where are we right now? That's a low 2. We're en route to Xbox. So you can see we reached our climb speed now about 309, 308. Nice big windows on the MD-11. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. At this point in the process, you'd basically just be monitoring the automatics and responding to ATC. ATC would probably be in reality stepping you up slowly as you go, not necessarily clearing up to 37,000 initially, but they might give you little jumps here and there, and then eventually they would clear you to your final cruise altitude, which in our case is 37,000 feet. And again, remember, the overhead panel is mostly just blacked out, and that's good. So that way, if something crops up, you get a indication right away that there's something wrong, and you need to address it. I'll now usually come over here, and we'll change this one to progress, so we can see what we're expecting at our destination. We can see the estimated time there is 16:16. Departure distance to destination is 478 nautical miles. Estimated fuel on board at destination is going to be 32.8, so we can compare that with our flight plan and make sure that's above our reserve minimum. Our final reserve number is 25.5, so we're definitely okay there. Got plenty of fuel. UFOB is usable fuel on board. A lot of aircraft, in fact pretty much all aircraft, have a certain amount of fuel that's just not usable. It's not scavengeable by the pumps. So while you have to account for that fuel by weight, it's not fuel you can actually tap into, and it's just the reality. So, and of course the bigger the airplane, the larger that unusable fuel amount is, because they've just got more real estate. So Well, I got about 10,000 feet to go to our cruise. Basically following the 15, I think, for the most part, because we're making a beeline now for Vegas. Which is a route I just drove. Well, not on the 15, not this part of the 15, the 58, which I think might be this, actually. Yeah, this is the 15 here, going up toward Barstow, which is right here essentially. And yeah, this is the 58 coming over. Edwards Air Force Base is back here. And then the 15 continues on to Vegas, past Baker, Prim, and Vegas. Alright, passing 30,000 feet. Got some contrails forming there. A nice profile shot of the plane. This is a really great aircraft to fly, and it's a beast. Just makes a lot of fun. Alright, 2,000 feet to cruise. And don't worry, this video, we won't run this for the entire hour that we're in cruise here. We'll be cutting it here shortly. Just want to get it all the way up to climb. We'll talk about some things in the aircraft that you should be taking a look at and keeping an eye on. We'll do some prep in advance of our of our descent and stuff. I think it's pretty good cruise speed too. Like I said, we're climbing right now. We're doing Mach 0.82, and that's at cost index 80, which is what I typically run my Boeing aircraft at, is in cost index 80. Airbus uses a different scale, and so I usually use 50 for Airbus. Again, there's no reason to use something like 5. The fuel is free, and it's not like that's a crazy amount of burn either. There's no reason to go-kart to your destination. So, you heard the altitude call from what is lovingly known as Bitching Betty. And so she calls out altitude when we're getting close there. You see it locks on, and we got the FMA now is nav 1, hold 37,000 thrust, which means the speed is being maintained via thrust, and it's trying to hold 818 in the Mach. So there we go. You can also see, similar to Airbus, when the computer's in control, they're dashed out. So you know that the computer's in control. Obviously the altitude is still under our command, but we're in profile mode, essentially hold. And so if we were to change this, we then have to either pull this toward us to activate the vertical speed, or then hit profile and have it descend via the profile mode, which it may not do if it's not thinking it wants to do that. So just be aware of that. Sometimes you got to force the aircraft to go when and where you want it, especially if ATC tells you to do something ahead of time. So a few little things about this aircraft. We're not going to go into great detail because, again, this is not the master class for this aircraft, but I want you to know how to navigate this thing should you need to. So again, like you saw us earlier, actually I don't know if we did that in this one yet. If you need to edit a restraint, or you want the airplane to cross somewhere, let's say ATC comes back and says cross IFI at 280 knots and 28,000 feet, let's just say. What you would do is do 280 knots slash 28,000, and then you would just line select on the right here across from IFE, and that would put that in. I'm not going to do that because it'll screw up my flight plan. If you needed to be at or above the altitude constraint, you could do 280 plus 28,000, and it would put you at or above that. And same thing for at or below, you just do a minus symbol, and you can get that way. So you have some options there. If you line select the actual thing, once you have the restraint in there, if you need to be complicated, you can go in and put some stuff in here. So if you have a altitude constraint that is, they want you above but not below, or sorry, not if they want you above one waypoint, if they want you, let's see, at a particular waypoint, they want you to be above a certain altitude but below a certain altitude, so they want you kind of bracketed. You can do that here. So you can do an at or above and an at or below. You can put them both in here. You can put the at altitude right there. You can also put the speed right there, and then it'll give you the chance to insert it once you make changes. So that's also something you do. This is called the vert revision, as opposed to, which is a vertical revision, versus the lateral revision, which is where you normally are when you're dealing with the lateral navigation. And then you just return to the flight plane. So really easy to do that. If you need to go direct somewhere, like not like in the Boeing, you would just line select and then jump it up. Well, you can't do that because if I line select, it's going to open another menu, so that doesn't help us. So if you need to go direct to a certain waypoint, you hit this direct intercept, and then you can put your thing in here. You're going to line select it once, and then click that again, and that will confirm it. And then you'll see your route will change to match that. And it'll just bypass all the waypoints that are between you and it and go direct to that waypoint. So if ATC comes back and says UPS 683 Heavy, fly direct blip, we don't need to go past Blazon, Las Vegas, or IFE anymore. We would just put blip right there, and then go there. And in this page, in the direct to page, you can click blip and it will put it up there. So you see that? Now I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back to the flight plan. And we're going to go back there. And I think if I go direct insert, yeah, it's reset. So there's no like reset button, you just got to go back to the flight plan. And until you hit it again, then it once you do that, then it will change the traffic pattern. But be careful with that, because once you do that, there's no way to undo that. So you have to go back and put waypoints back in if you freak that out. So that's also a good reason why you can always load up the secondary flight plan. So you could copy the active and have a secondary flight plan in there. And then if you ever need to use it, you've got it as a secondary, as a backup, so you could copy stuff out of it if you needed to, and things like that. So you don't normally want to do that like ahead of your departure, but there you go. The progress page, which we have over here, again, it shows you your last waypoint to the current waypoint and the waypoint that's coming up after that, your current temperature outside, which is minus 45 degrees centigrade. That's the static temperature. That is not the relative temperature. The total air temperature, which is the relative temperature, is 15 degrees C. And the difference is you have air hitting the surfaces of the aircraft at a good amount of speed. Since we're doing Mach 0.81, we're like 80% the speed of sound right now. And that air hitting the aircraft at that speed causes a considerable amount of friction, and friction produces heat. So it's actually warming the air up as it's hitting the wing, and warming it up to negative 15 C from 45. This is why, even though the Jet A wants to freeze at 40 degrees centigrade, it's not going to do that, because the wing is being cushioned around by negative 15 C air instead of the 45, because we're not sitting stagnant in the aircraft. So this is the temperature that matters for icing. This is more like performance temperatures. Destination showing obviously runway 34 right, so we can see that that's plugged in currently. We can get an estimated time over that point. So you can see on our clock here, it's currently 15:25 Zulu. This is our elapsed time, so since we took off, it automatically starts that clock for us. So we got 23 minutes in the air so far, and 15:25 Zulu, so we're going to 16:15 approximately. So we got about 50 minutes to our destination. A distance of 359 nautical miles as of right now. And it doesn't have any information to our alternate, because we haven't selected our alternate to go there. So it's not even going there. There's no data it can populate. Next page on progress, you can put in fixes to get some information on that if you want to. If you need to hold somewhere, so let's say they want you to hold at blip, we can click on blip, and just like the other ones, we have airways, stars, we also have hold. And so we can pull up the hold procedures, and we can enter the hold information as it's given to us from ATC. So right turns or left turns, just put an L here if you need to do left turns. The inbound course and time and distance stuff. You can do, so I believe on this, I'm not seeing where it's given me the option to specify the legs, unless that's this, but I don't know why the time would be, unless that's supposed to be a minute 30. That's possible. Let's put the hold at IFE and see what, let's see if it draws it. Turn to flight plan, IFE, hold. Well, it's not drawing anything yet. Insert that. Okay, there's the hold at IFE. That's a pretty big, that's a 20-mile leg. That's like a 10-mile leg. Hold speed limit. I don't see where you can specify the size of the legs though. That's how we take the hold out. So you can clear the hold that way. And we're back on course. So if you got a hold, that's how you're going to do that. Obviously, we don't need to do anything with the NIT once we're in the air. That's all just taken care of. Performance, if you need to change your econ cruise, you can change this to be a higher Mach number or lower Mach number. So if HT comes back and says we want you to maintain Mach 0.78, you can do that. Obviously, we can page over to the descent. Normally there'd be a climb page, but we've already done the climb, so there's no sense in dealing with that. I don't know that we can do anything with the, yeah, so you have to, it won't pull the winds in automatically. You can go in and put these in. So if I look at my flight plan, for instance, I can go to my descent forecast winds, which is at the bottom of my flight plan. And so I can put in, let's say, since we're at 37,000, let's do 300. So let's do 300, and the wind is going to be 230 at 50. And so you put that in right there, and so then you can step these all the way down as low as you want. And what this does is it helps give the aircraft a little bit better performance calculations as to its route. So we only have one, two, three, 4 on here. So if we do 30, I might do, well, I'll do 25 then too. So we'll do 250, and that's going to be 230 at 41. And then we'll do 20,000. I'll do 20,000, I'll do 10,000 because we're going to be pretty high up because Salt Lake's pretty high up. So you don't need to worry about going too low to the ground. The wind's going to drop off anyway. So we'll do 250, then we'll do, actually I'll do 15. We'll do 15, and then that's going to be 21020. And then 10 is 22020. Oops, that's 11. 10 is 220 at 20. And let's stick that there. Let's see inside. So I'll insert the descent forecast winds, and that'll again just help the aircraft kind of figure that out. Let's see, takeoff. This is we're gonna mess with this in descent, so we don't need to deal with that now. That'll be the next video. We already talked about reference page. You can see the status of the aircraft, some of the stuff you saw originally when we first boot the system up. Most of the stuff is for double checking things. You don't really need to mess with this here. And then obviously the menu. If you're going to use the A cars for CPDLC, that's how you get there. These things don't work. I don't know if there's stuff in here, and I don't know if that's really just specifically for the devs or if it's for something else. And the same thing with maintenance. So again, this will be kind of a thing when the manual comes out, what these actually, there's stuff in here, but I can't tell what it really does. So we'll just go back and leave this on progress. So, and that's what we would be doing at cruise. We'd be monitoring the airplane, we'd be listening to ATC, we'll be updating the forecast winds. You can see here the computer is constantly tuning VORs to try and confirm the FMS's GPS position and just make sure that stays accurate based on what it has there. And yeah. So we're going to cut the video there for this one, for the takeoff and climb and cruise portion. You'll join me back just a little bit before we get to our top of descent. We'll talk through the arrival procedure, getting ready for descent, and landing in Salt Lake City. So once again, I'm Mustafa. I stream multiple times a week on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mustafa. Love to see you come by and join the real fun there that happens. You can also, if you have questions, comment, use the comment section down below. I try and read all of those and check those, but a faster way to get to the comment section is to join the Discord, the Moose Lodge Discord. Love to have you over there. We got some real world pilots, some ex-real world pilots that in addition to a number of other people that are like me that are just very knowledgeable about this stuff and would be happy to help as you have questions. And you can join that growing community over there. I would also ask that if you found any of this helpful, to hit the like and subscribe button. It really does help grow the channel and helps get more people to see this video, and hopefully helps them learn how to fly this beautiful airplane, as a number of them are going to be picking this up when it comes out on July 2nd. Of course, you're probably watching this after July 2nd at this point anyway. So with all that to say, we'll see you in the next one. We'll pick this up shortly before top of descent, and we'll go over the descent, landing, and parking of the MD-11. We'll see you then.